levels. Well, let's get a move on and focus in on the real estate sector as well. There's lots to talk about: the impact of the lockdown on sales, the role of technology in real estate, as well as what the outlook is when it comes to construction material and the working capital constraints. Joining in on the show, we have Venkatesh Gopalakrishnan. He's the Chief Executive Officer at Shapoorji Pallonji Real Estate. Thank you so much for taking time out and joining in. Mr. Gopalakrishnan, to begin, you certainly are a voice to reckon with within the real estate industry. So tell us about the current state of affairs. What is the situation like really on ground for the real estate sector?
Well, thank you for having me on the show, and a very good morning to all the viewers. So essentially, it's a very unique situation which COVID-19 has caused, where the supply side constraints and the demand side constraints have all come in at the same time. So in the past, we've had instances, whether it is 2008-9 or even Demon, where there have been demand side disruptions. But here, I think a supply side disruption has also come along with the demand side disruption because of the lockdown. And, that has caused some kind of a double whammy. And to add to that, the liquidity situation does not help. So overall, the outlook for the next 6 to 9 months is quite bearish. Having said that, as a company, we are focusing to try to overcome the supply side disruptions in the next 3 to 6 months. There are challenges there of labor and liquidity, but we're trying to overcome that and move ahead. And on the demand side, we're waiting to see how it will pick up in the next 3 to 6 months.
Okay, so that's the situation really on ground. So give us a sense as to what has been the impact on sales then. In these few months, what kind of a dip have you seen in your overall sales? And, overall, how much further back really has the industry been taken on the back of this pandemic?
Yeah, I think if you look at the sales of April and May, they've been hit quite badly. I think for us, in April, we were at about 25% of capacity. Even in lockdown, there were certain pockets of home buyers who were buying homes. There's been a reasonable recovery in the month of May, where we are at 50% of capacity. However, it's too early to kind of predict and say that, we are coming back to normal. I think we have to observe the situation in the next 3 to 6 months. Having said that, obviously we are not at zero. We are at 50% of our capacity, and we hope to get to 70 to 80% in the next 4 to 6 months. I think that's been our target, and that's how we will move ahead. I think one of the most important things which will change the entire paradigm is use of digital, because reaching out to the customers digitally, virtually on virtual platforms, even after the lockdown ends, the number of site visits by the customers are going to reduce. Usually they do 3 site visits, they'll probably do only 1 or 2. So I think all the companies in the residential sector, all the developers will have to realign themselves a lot to turn digital. And I think we're making the right investments for the short and the medium to long term in the digital space.
So what are the kind of trends you've seen on sales in the last 5 years? So many disruptions, Demon, RERA, now COVID as well. When do you see any kind of stability returning, and in what form?
Yeah, I think the joke going around is that, we've been in the downturn for the last 5 years. So what's COVID? So I think a very, very relevant question. I think what has happened is that if you look at the entire home buying scenario over the last 5 years, there were a lot of investors who used to invest in residential property, and a lot of them have gone out of the market. The end user market is still there. Over the last 18 months to 2 years, we've seen a lot of consolidation also. So there has been quite a bit of flight to quality. There have been a lot of supply which has been constrained because of delay in approvals and liquidity issues and so on and so forth. So as we speak today, there's still quite a bit of demand-supply gap. But I think the demand is concentrated around, let's say, 20 to 25% of the players. And we expect that this phenomenon is only going to increase post-COVID moving ahead. So overall, the demand for the last 5 years has been quite tepid. we expect that in the next 6 months, residential buying being a discretionary spend, people are going to be very cautious on this because there's going to be layoffs, there's going to be salary cuts, so they might as well delay the decision. So over the next 6 months, it's going to be very cautious. But I think the medium to long term, we are quite positive about the prospects of the industry, given three reasons. One is the low interest rate regime, and hopefully a recovery in the GDP in FY 21-22. The next one is there is going to be an increasing trend of working from home, and people would probably want to own homes than to rent homes. And the third is, they over a period of time, there will be some amount of pent-up demand. So because of these three reasons, we remain quite confident in the medium to long term. Of course, in the short term, there's going to be quite a bit of pain.
Sure. So, fair enough. And do you see, a resizing of trends as such? Will it be the lower ticket items, for example? On one hand, we've had a series of layoffs and people perhaps apprehensive to spend, but on the other hand, there may be a trend leaning towards wanting to own your own home at a time like this, and particularly post the crisis.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So I think there are two things which are kind of contradictory to each other, and they will play out in the next 3 to 6 months. The need or the emotion for owning a home is surely going to increase going ahead. But the timing of the purchase is uncertain at this point of time because it has to be juxtaposed against the fact that, probably one can wait for 3 to 6 months to take that decision. So essentially, on the sizing of the products, if you have seen the market over the last 3 to 4 years, people have tried to make their sizes more tight and the ticket sizes more affordable. They will continue to do so, I think, in the next for this year. But between affordability and adaptability, the two parameters need to be balanced. What I mean by adaptability is that in a working from home culture, you may need an extra room to be your office. You may need your 2 BHKs, 3 BHKs to be remodeled in a particular manner. I think all those things will happen on product innovations. And going ahead, I would say that, an extra room, people would want to go in for it, even if they have to stretch their budgets. But I think that will be probably 6 to 9 months down the line.
Yes, indeed. In a country like ours, the culture of really work from home won't apply to a lot of sectors as well as demographies. But you've been talking quite recently about the trend of consolidation within the real estate space. Is that something that you see growing and continuing to gain steam? Is it going to now, in a time or a tough time like this, be a case of, far fewer players managing to stand their ground and thereby a lot more consolidation within the real estate sector?
Yeah, I think so. Consolidation has been there for the last couple of years, and it will only grow moving ahead. The reason being, I think the customers are also kind of concentrating their purchases among the better known grade A developers, especially for under construction projects. And also much of the industry, is bearing the brunt of the pain of the liquidity crisis. So that affects the ability of a developer to actually complete or move ahead with his unfinished project. Both combined will, in my opinion, lead to more consolidation, but consolidation typically happens quite slowly. It won't happen rapidly or fast. It'll happen over a period of 3 to 4 years. But I think for the health of the industry, too much of consolidation is also not very good. I think we need, we have houses all over the country, tier 3 cities, the rural areas, etc. Not only the big developers, but also it is expected that the small and medium developers also contribute to this overall industry, because it's not very good to be the healthy part of an unhealthy industry. It's better that the overall industry is healthy.
Joining us, Venkatesh, good speaking with you this morning and getting a sense of what's to come. We're going to go across to Nayanthara now as well. We're still awaiting the Prime Minister's speech